Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Melly
and Shally
Unpacked LIQUI MOLY. So it's our series or our show that we want to make sure we can take LIQUI MOLY and might be a little bit complicated and make it simple. So between Shally, our engineer, and myself, we're going to make sure it is as easy to understand. And if my mother's watching, if she understands, then it makes sure that everybody can understand. So I know a lot of people don't know a lot about the different automotive parts in the vehicle, and we want to make sure that we can help, because in this time with lockdown and with the COVID-19 virus, I mean, there's a lot of unsureties, and we want to make sure we can add value so that you can save money in the time where your vehicles and all your equipment is going to be in lockdown. Or that you're not going to be able to use them, or you're not using them because it's in the winter period of time, that they're going to be well taken care of.
So the biggest question currently, Mel, I have is I can honestly say winter's coming. I can feel it every morning when I wake up, and it's really difficult to get up. So discipline is one of those biggest things. But yeah, the focus for today is to help you as a viewer, maybe you at home DIY, to assist you with taking care of those vehicles like Mel mentioned, whether it be your boat, your tractor, your marine equipment. Being able to ensure that we can take care of all of those by simple DIY products that you can just better understand. And yeah, that is the whole point why we're here today.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things that we don't know. So what you don't know, you don't know. But if you have the failures, or you're coming out of winter and you're so excited to take your jet ski to the dam or to the ocean, or you'll have your vehicle that you've been looking after so well, your baby that's been in storage, and you want to start her up, put the top down, and want to take a drive when spring is here, then we want to make sure that everything that has been stored away, or everything is going to be in this winter atmosphere, is actually going to be in 100% condition, ready for you to take it out on the open road, or on the open grass, or on the open mealie fields, or on the open air, so in all the different places that you have your equipment.
Yeah, perfect. So especially with the classic cars, I know those are prone to only be used in summer. I know there's quite a few clients that only use it when the rain is gone and there's no winter, because most of our convertibles, it's something you actually treasure, like it's quite close to your heart. So that's why it's important to always take care of those kind of equipment, because end of the day, little expenses can put you a big pocket in your way.
So what we're going to do is show you why you need to do these things, and maybe tell you a couple of things that is going to have that eureka moment, and going to bring a little bit of light, and for you doing things totally different going forward. So what we're going to focus on today is to look at your equipment and making sure that they're taken care of and protected on the inside. So those are the parts that you cannot see, where the engine is running, the fuel is running, where the coolant system is running. And then also making sure on the outside.
Yes, perfect. So to explain, we all know winter. What is the actual causes of winter? You can all feel that it's quite cold outside. And with that comes a big territory of problems that you may be facing with. So one of the biggest things is the actual temperature fluctuation and temperature changes. And not only inside the vehicle, but also on your body. So especially in the vehicle, we'll be able to cover that now, and how we can have problem solvers to solve some solutions that you're not even aware of. So that is one of the biggest focus. On the other hand, oxidation is also one of the biggest problems we're facing, especially when temperature decreases. And yeah, I'll quickly cover that now as soon as we go through a few DIY products to explain how it works.
Because Shally, you're talking about oxidation. So what is oxidation? I mean, if we start and we look at our vehicles and our lawnmower, or our motorbike, or our jet ski, or our classic car, or our Porsche that we have currently standing, when you refer to oxidation and we look at the engine, what is that? What is oxidation, and what implication does it have on your engine?
So oxidation is basically where all particles or molecules are taken from oxygen. A basic example, if I'm driving my car and it's quite hot, I've done a trip to Heidelberg and coming back now, I quickly want to check my oil, but not considering my car's still hot. If I open my oil cap, you can see there's some steam coming out. That is the worst thing you can do, because that increases the oxidation in your oil, and to make sure that the oil breaks down much quicker.
Okay, so if I'm going to be in winter and my car's going to be standing, I know that if I put my engine off, I've got the engine oil that runs down and all lies in the sump. So in that period, what damage would that be? What would be the implication if that vehicle is going to stand for 3 or 4 months, or if some people have cars in storage for 6 months in that position where the oil is not running through the engine on a constant basis? What will be the effect?
So one of the biggest encounters you will see inside the engine is the actual lubrication of the seals. Especially during prolonged periods, you'll see that there's no lubrication on the seals, and they actually start wearing or become brittle. Once you start your car after some time, then you'll realize that you either have some oil consumption or there is some issues with regard to idling and performance. Also, the aging of the oil becomes very prevalent. So that's one of the things you can really have a look at.
Okay, so to give everybody watching some tips, so what would we do to prevent that? So you've spoken now about the seals that not getting lubricated. So I want to explain that or show that in a very simple way. So I've taken 2 syringes. So both of them have got a little piece of rubber at the top. So the only thing I've done is the one syringe I have actually dried out the piece of rubber. So if you have your car that the oil is going to be in the sump for quite a long time, those seals in the vehicle are not going to be in contact with oil. So they're going to actually dry out if you haven't done any prevention. So that is exactly what I've done with the one syringe. The other one is exactly is lubricated and taken care of. So to be able to show what it would do, if this is now a vehicle that hasn't been taken care of, there was no prevention taken and it's been standing for quite some time with the oil inside the sump and not running through the engine, I'm trying to
create suction, but it's no suction because there's no seal from the actual seal.
So you can see nothing comes up. There's a slide so easily because this little piece of seal is not sealing properly, so there's no keeping all the fluid inside or creating the pressure to take it out. So taking the other syringe that has been lubricated properly
And preserved, yeah.
and I do exactly the same, you'll see I have my fluids and it works as what it's supposed to. So the product that we have that will make sure that your vehicle with the oil, and if it's going to be standing for quite some time, is taken care of, is called Motor Oil Saver. So what Motor Oil Saver does, you add it to your oil. You can't just add it and leave it. You have to let your car idle or drive with it a little bit so that it can actually run through the engine. You can add it with any oil, doesn't matter if it's synthetic or mineral, and let the car run for a while. And what it is going to do is it's going to make sure that it protects those seals for a very long period of time. So when all the oil is going to be at the sump, the vehicle is going to be in good condition after 6 or 7 months if you start it, and you're not going to have a situation where you actually have no seal, but you have a proper vehicle where there's proper oil pressure, there's no oil that's spraying everywhere on the floor, and your engine has been taken care of.
So one of the nice things about this product itself is a lot of times the customers ask you, sorry Mel, if you just put it back here. So a lot of times the customers ask you, listen, my car's been standing for quite some time now, and you recommend the oil based on the viscosity from the manufacturer, but now he says, yes, this viscosity is way too thin. And you can actually see it with the sealant. So the first thing is not to consider viscosity, rather to consider the sealing properties of the seals inside your engine to ensure you can preserve this with this product. The nice thing about the product as well is it has viscosity index improvers, which thickens up the oil. It also works almost like a spring. How it works is when it's cold, it's very, very narrow, but as the spring heats up, it actually expands and thickens up this viscosity on the oil itself. So on the other side, it also regenerates the seals itself, so you won't have this problem inside your vehicle.
Okay, stunning. So now we have, and this is for vehicles, for your tractor, for your wherever there's engine oil that's going to be running. We also have then the product that will help you with your motorcycle. We have it in the marine range, our aero range, so in all the different ranges. We're not going to go into detail to every single product, but we have a product for every piece of equipment that can make sure that your seals in your vehicle is taken care of during winter.
Perfect, yeah. So on to the next one. We'll cover some fuel. So anyone dealing with diesel know there's an elephant in the room, and that is water.
Elephant, I thought you were going to refer to me.
No. Yeah, so water is a big hazard when it comes to fuel. A lot of people just think like, okay, it's easy removing the water from the diesel, but being able to look inside a tank or inside your fuel system, that is where it becomes tricky. So what happens is I actually have a little test equipment here, just to show you a basic example. So inside here, I've got a little bit of diesel. At the bottom, we've got water. And in between this, there's an interface. This is a surface where it is a growth for bacteria, fungi, yeast, and molds. I don't know if you can see that. Perfect. So what actually happens is that because the diesel stands in a fuel tank, in a bowser, agricultural equipment, wherever it may be, it experiences the temperature difference, and this condensation actually happens with the water droplets creates a water layer inside. Now this is, like I mentioned, this is a feeding ground for bacteria. Biggest issues when it comes to this is that as soon as you start using this diesel, you might experience lack in performance, irregular engine idling, and the biggest one being clogging your filters. We all know, especially when clogging your filters, there's no fuel going to the engine, to the injectors, and you end up burning your injector tips, meaning you have to replace those injectors. So you can see where I'm going with this.
I'm 100% sure there's a lot of people that did not know that a bacteria can grow in diesel. And if I look at this, I know this hasn't been
this has only been for 4 days. So you can see there's some growth, especially just after 4 days.
You want to maybe bring the light?
Yeah, perfect. We can have a look at that.
Even if you look at the water, I don't know if it's going to be that clear on the camera, but you can already see the layer at the top has started to, you can see a growth in there.
On the microbes, yeah.
We'll even afterwards put some photos on the Facebook page so that you can also see that. So this is one of the things that happen, because if you drive to work now that winter has started to seep in, you can see the crystallization and the little bit of ice and frost on the grass. So that very big difference in temperature, if you have fuel standing within a car, whether it's then diesel that's in a bowser, you're going to have the opportunity of the bacteria growing. And if it is in your vehicle, fuel is also quite aggressive, and it also oxidizes. And it starts to have an effect on the engine itself and changing its DNA. So what would be, so to be able to go into the detail of what fuel and what can happen with fuel in winter, one is the bacteria, but this is something that can happen in any time of the year, because as soon as water comes close, am I right?
Yes.
It starts developing.
Yeah, so that's actually the interface, the area between the diesel and the water, the interface where they start growing. The thing with bacteria is, as soon as they are in a tank or in your bowser, they actually multiply, and it's very difficult to get rid of this. One way you will be able to get rid of this is with biocides, and thank goodness LIQUI MOLY developed a great biocide that's been tested by microbiologists. This specific product is especially for our diesel. It's called antibacterial diesel additive. And it's got a ratio of 1 to 1,000. So I can cover 1 liter of this for 1,000 liters of diesel.
So for those of you that don't know what a bowser is, if you have a big tank with a lot of diesel or fuel in it, that's one of those bowser tanks, and normally takes 15,000. So if you have even a motorhome that has quite a big tank, that diesel is going to be standing in, you can add the antibacterial diesel additive, and it's a prevention. So it's going to make sure that the bacteria that you've seen here that's developed in 4 days are not going to develop in that diesel. And in a year's time, if you get into your motorhome, or only then are going to use the diesel that's in the tank, it's still going to be in a condition without any bacteria or oxidation, or that it is become saturated.
Yeah, so one of the great things about this is if you already have those bacteria, especially in diesel tanks and bowsers, you can actually use a concentrated value of 1 to 200 that will be able to cure that right there. And then prevention is 1 to 1,000, as Melissa mentioned.
Okay, so for everybody that have a motorbike, a jet ski, if you have a yacht, please contact us afterwards. Or you have a boat, or you have a couple of cars that are in storage. If any of those things are what you have in your garage and you want to make sure that they're taken care of, if you leave fuel in equipment, whether it's your lawnmower or your jet ski or your car for quite some time, it has a very, very negative effect, because it will oxidize, it will age. And the other thing as well is it will have, if it oxidizes, it will also, water within the fuel tank is going to create
Crystallize, yeah.
And it creates rust.
Yes.
So to prevent all of this, we have a product that you can add to your fuel system, and it is called petrol stabilizer. So it comes in a little bottle like this. It almost looks like a an alcohol measuring tot bottle that depending on how much. So if I have my motorbike or I have my lawnmower and I want to make sure, I know I'm going to not use my jet ski for the next 4 or 5 months and there is about 10 liters in there, I'm going to be able to measure it up, throw it into the petrol, and it's going to be able to stand like that for 24 months, for a minimum of 24 months, without having any effect on the engine.
And the biggest formulation for this is the fuel aging. So as Manisha mentioned, as soon as you start it up again, you won't have any combustion problems or be able to try and get rid of those, the fuel before you actually use the equipment. So that's an amazing product, especially for your classic vehicles.
Stunning. And also the other problem you have is if you're in very cold areas, maybe you're in Sutherland, and you have your equipment going through the night and it's actually going to -degrees, then I don't know if you've known, but you actually have diesel that will freeze. So we have a product called
Diesel Fleece FET. So this product is an additive that we actually put inside the diesel. As you can see, here's water present. Now what happens is when it becomes very cold, this diesel will crystallize and create issues inside the fuel system. Now, this product has been developed to have poor point depressants. So poor point depressant is to suppress cold temperatures. And here we can see a basic test we did.
So the Fleece FET has been added. It can take up to -31 degrees. That is not temperatures that we reach in South Africa, thank goodness. But we have seen snow in some cases where it's really bad and very, very deep -degrees. So here we have diesel in both bottles. The only difference is with this bottle, and we've both had them in dry ice. With this bottle, we had Fleece FET added, and with this one, we haven't.
Yeah.
So if you want to make sure that your equipment is not going to have the diesel actually freeze and cause a sludge in the filter, make sure that you add the diesel Fleece FET to make sure that you don't have it freezing in its fuel tank. So whether it is a lawnmower, whether it is your jet ski, whether it's your boat, we have a product range that will make sure that if there's fuel in your fuel system, it's going to be protected, it's not going to freeze, there's no bacteria that's going to develop, and it's not going to age, no oxidation is going to take place, and you know after 3 or 4 or 5 months, get back into your jet ski, get back into your motorbike, start the engine, there is going to be absolutely no issues. So on the fuel side, also to be able to make sure that you take care of your vehicle or any equipment that you have at home to prevent that. So you add the additive, you don't just add it, you make sure that you idle it for quite some time so that it can run through your entire system, and then you can leave the vehicle for over 24 months and you're going to know that there's not going to be any issue with the fuel.
Yeah, that's quite amazing products. So the next one quickly want to cover is the actual coolant. I'm not really sure how many times have you driven past someone that's standing on the side of the road and they're actually adding water into the radiator, which is not always the best thing to do. The reason why that is why coolants are developed. People think that the coolant is only for hot temperatures, but especially becoming winter now, you actually see the ethylene glycol base protecting with cold temperatures. So here we have the same example, extremely cold water. That you can see actually froze up, and in the same sense, this is our RAF12. This is a ready mix, and you can see it's still flowable. Okay, so this is the whole idea of a antifreeze. It does not only work when it's operating temperature, but especially in the mornings when it's cold start. You also need the coolant as soon as the engine gets hot, so there's no insufficient coolant happening in the engine.
Okay, so the cooling system is important. So an antifreeze is a coolant. It has -degrees and it has top degrees when it's very warm. And that's so important, not just in the engine, but also to be able to make sure that your cooling system is taken care of during winter time so that it can also prevent the water and the fluids in the vehicle going and freezing, as what we've just shown. So on the inside of the vehicle, from the radiator side, from the fuel side, from the oil side, all products to be able to make sure when you start that key or you take that toy out of the garage that it is going to be in 100% condition. There's going to be no additional maintenance or anything that's going to fail premature because it hasn't been taken care of in winter. So looking at the inside, if we then cover the outside of the vehicle, if you think of a vehicle and the storage of a vehicle, exactly the same. If you would have fluid that sits on a little piece of screw or a little piece of metal, if you leave it for a little while with water on it, it starts to rust.
Yeah.
So that effect with the water, if you're in your dashboard in your car and it is standing and there's oxidation, it's getting quite cold, then you're going to have that little bit of coolness on it. And when it warms up again, you've got a little bit of water and then it dries out again. So you have that up and down of different temperatures. So there are so much that you need to do as well on your vehicle on the outside to be able to make sure you don't have a cracked dashboard, you don't have your rubbers that are getting all brittle. So exactly the same as what I've showed with the two syringes, having the seal that is actually protected. What I've done is I have actually just taken a seal and dried it out. So if there it's already cracked, so you can see I can actually tear it apart. So if you have a couple of the rubbers in your car that you can see the cracks in it and it's falling apart, you could have prevented that by just making sure that you lubricate those rubbers. And within LIQUI MOLY on the outside, the same as what we have the motor oil saver that takes care of the seals on the inside, we have our gummy pledge or our rubber care. And also for the dashboard to make sure that that is for all temperatures, you're not going to have any cracks coming through. We have our dashboard protect. And a product that I quite like that is also your rubber care because they've made it in a new packaging is our small little rubber care now. And why I like it so much is it comes with a nice little sponge. And it's so easy to just take it all around your doors, everywhere where there's rubbers, to be able to make sure that it's easy to apply. And you know when you're going to put your car away for a period of time, it is going to be protected. You're not going to come back and it's brittle rubbers. It's not sealing properly. You have to replace everything.
And it's very expensive. That's
So, Shally, and then there we have a rubber care as well. So
this is actually our leather care. Amazing product. I actually use it myself in my vehicle, and it's amazing results, especially in cool temperatures. So it preserves the actual leather, so it does not become brittle or crack, like Melissa mentioned. It's very expensive to replace, as most of you know.
So awesome. Now we've had a number of products, and we haven't covered every single one. I mean, if you look at our range, and it covers bicycle, motorcycle, our marine range, our aero range. But we have products, and we want to ask you, if you're watching this video and you have any questions and any comments, please put the comments there. We will make sure that we will answer all your questions. We'll tell you what products we will recommend for your tractor, for your industrial equipment, for your crane, for your yacht. And then we have products to be able to make sure that all your equipment is well taken care of during winter. And the last product, I mean, on the one side for the corrosion, we have a couple of corrosion products. Whether it's motorcycle, whether it's industrial, to prevent, and you spray it on. And prevention is always better than cure.
Yes, sir.
So that is something that we love, even when we go see different customers, to say, let's rather make sure that before the bacteria grows, you put this in your diesel, the antibacterial diesel additive. Before the fuel starts to oxidate, you make sure that that does not happen. The same with corrosion. You want to make sure that you protect your vehicle, your equipment, before it rusts. So we have industrial wax, we have a multi-purpose spray that's a wax protector, we have the motorcycle in the marine range. And doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, we will make sure that it's taken care of, and during the hibernation period, that it can come out on the other side all ready for spring. And on our website, if we get to winter, actually all time of the year, but when it gets to winter, there's a certain animal that also likes to kind of hibernate. So they're looking for a little bit of a warm place in your garage, and normally the rats find a nice cozy position, especially if you have your Ferrari or your MG or your Aston Martin or your yacht. It's got a nice precious space there where it knows nobody's going to come and bother. Then they make a nice little home for themselves. So rats, if you've had a problem with rats in your roof, in your car, in your baby, and it's taken apart all the wires, we have a product that's called Marder Spray.
Yes. So Marder Spray is quite an amazing product. There's been many thousands, I can't even tell how many thousands of these products we sold. The Marder Spray is stands out from the crowd because it is not a poison, it's a repellent, and it gives off a nice hormone that actually repels the rat, so it does not come back. As Melissa mentioned, that especially with the rats now during the season, as soon as you drive a car, you get home, it's nice and warm, and they want to make a nice nest there, especially when there's a food source available to them. And you'll never know it, but you'll know it until it's too late.
Yeah, and I've heard about some of the expenses when it comes to the wiring. So it's called Marder Spray. It's not a diet spray for anybody that's wondered. We are still not 100% sure about the name. But as Shally mentioned, it's a repellent, which is great because if you're an animal lover, you have birds and your children and everybody running around and your cats and your dogs, you know if you spray this, it's not going to have any effect on them, but it is going to keep the rats away. But I want to make a little bit of a statement. From all the thousands of people that we've received letters to say thank you, it's an unbelievable and awesome product, we just want to make one note. If you have rat poison that you've tried to use before the marder spray, rat poison attracts the rat, normally takes it in, and then it wants water. And if you have rat poison anywhere and you also spray the marder spray will not work, because then there's two conflicting situations. You have a repellent that's actually going to chase the rat away and not let him come close to your car or your roof. But if you have poison there, that attracts them again. So as soon as the rat has eaten the poison, it's going to try and get to water. And if you have water in your pipes in your car, it's going to chew that off, because it goes crazy trying to get to the water. So very important, if you use the marder spray, you have to spot spray. It is not it keeps them away, but you have to make sure that whatever you've used before to get rid of the rats, that you get rid of that first before you're going to spray the marder spray.
And the best way to do that is not only checking where the spots are in the engine compartment where you actually have the poison present, but you can also try our Universal Cleaner Extreme to wash the engine nicely, and to make sure that any deodorants or smells are actually removed before you use the marder spray, because that is when it's most effective.
Stunning. So I hope you see that there's a lot of value that can be added. Don't wait until after the winter, then it's too late. If you are going to have anything standing, if you're not going to use your lawnmower, if you're not going to use your weed eater, make sure that if there's still fuel in it, that it is not going to oxidize. Make sure that your car on the outside is taken care of. Make sure that you also, if you do have a problem with rats, that you just spot spray so that you can make sure those rats do not come and destroy a couple of wires and make a nice rest of their family breathing that in your engine. And if there's any questions, anything that you're not sure of, you want to know and reference back to what the product code is, please leave the comments and we'll get back to you. We'll make sure that we can help and attend to whatever questions you have or uncertainty, so we can make sure you have the right products to make sure all your equipment is going to make it through winter.
Perfect. So Mel, this is one question I want to ask you is, in the previous video you mentioned the DIY workshop competition, and I was super excited because I know there are a lot of guys that actually want to take part in this. So please explain more about that and how we're going to go about that.
Thanks, Shally. It's great that you mentioned that. So on Monday with the interview that we did with Jean-Andre, we mentioned our new DIY workshop competition. So we've had unbelievable videos on the DIY general, where people were in their houses and showing all the different DIY videos using the LIQUI MOLY products. And now actually workshops are giving tips. So it's tips that workshops are giving as DIY tips to show you how to top up your oil, why you should use engine flush, what do they do when they're going to clean your DPF, what is a DPF, how to clean your aircon system. So all the workshops, we are opening up the competition especially for you. So send us the videos with tips to help all the LIQUI MOLY family out there. And this competition is going to end on the 19th of June.
Sure, that's on my birthday.
Yeah. And then we're going to have a week of voting. So we're again going to have the top 10 videos, where it's going to be that race for first place. But this time there's only one winning spot. And that winning workshop is going to get a makeover voucher of 20,000 Rand.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So in lockdown and everything is going on, that is an ideal way to be able to add a couple of rands to your account, and make sure that you can add whatever equipment to your workshop. But we want to, for us, is the big aim to be able to make sure that everybody around and the LIQUI MOLY family actually knows of the different workshops, but at the same time as well get these tips of just how to use these products easier, understand them, and to take the difficult out of the technical data sheet and make it as simple as possible. Unpack it in a way that all of us can understand.
Yeah. And that is only brought to you by Melly and Shally.
Melly and Shally. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.